All right, we did mention this little diagram here today, but we're going to spend this whole next exercise is dedicated just to working out speed and using that triangle for speed equals distance over time. It says speed is a special rate that tells us how fast something is moving. It is a good idea to learn that distance triangle, and it generates all of those formulas that are there. And I told you last time how to read it. If I want to know what distance is, I cover up the distance, and it is equal to speed times time. It's this formula here. If I want to know speed, I cover the S, and it's distance on the top over time. Distance over time. And if I want to know time, I cover the T, and it's distance over speed. So that triangle does all three of those formulas as long as you know how to use it. So let's practice it. Question 1. Find the average speed. It will often say average because we do know that there's times we might drive faster or slower, but it's the average over the whole trip. And we still use this formula. So if I'm trying to find speed, cover the S, and it is distance over time. So I want you to write that formula down. S for speed equals D over T for distance over time. The car travels 500 kilometers in 5 hours. So 500 kilometers is my distance, and the 5 hours, that is a time. So we sub that into our formula. Distance on the top, don't forget the kilometers part, and time on the bottom is 5 hours. Now we know that's a rate, and if I divide the numbers, I don't need my calculator for that, 500 divided by 5 is 100. But having the units there tells me or reminds me that I need kilometers per hour at the end of that. Riley?
With that, do we have to do like the divide now, or can we just do the divide symbol? It makes it easier.
It's technically still right if you do the divide, if that's the way you think it makes more sense to you, that's fine. Let's do question 2. Find the average speed again. Okay, so speed, as soon as it says that, speed equals distance over time. This time, the distance, gentlemen, shh, this is not the time to be talking. The distance is 1,800 kilometers, and it's going to take 2.5 hours, so that will be my time. Sub that into the formula. Distance on the top, and time the 2.5 hours on the bottom, and then type them in. 1, 8. Okay. Shh. Don't need any whispering or talking. Question 3. Find the average speed of a jogger that travels 9 kilometers in 45 minutes. So we're still doing speed, which equals distance over time. The little difference with this question is I have my distance and my time. My distance is 9 kilometers and my time is 45 minutes. But we don't normally work out speeds in kilometers per minute. It's usually either kilometers per hour or meters per second. They're the two types of speed units that we're used to doing. So if you see one in minutes, you need to change that into hours. Now, some of you may already be able to do that in your head, but remember that in an hour there is 60 minutes. So the easiest thing to do is to take that number and divide it by 60, and that will now be in hours. It's not a simplified fraction. That's okay. You can simplify it if you want to, or just let your calculator worry about that when we do the final calculation. So now let's put that into our formula. The distance is 9 kilometers, and I want to divide that by 45 over 60. And yes, it does look a little bit weird to have a fraction in a fraction here, but your calculator can handle that. Or you could do like Riley was suggesting, and you can type that first one in as a divide. So you type in 9 divided by 45 over 60, and that is equal to 12 kilometers per hour. Question 4. Find your average speed. As soon as you see that formula, speed equals distance over time. Of a car that is, oh no, sorry, I was reading question 4 again. Question 3 again, sorry. This one says find the distance traveled. If it says distance, I need to change my formula. Looking back up here at the top of the page, yes, what's wrong?
Never mind. It's just there's a way that you can put it into your calculator. With the things.
Yeah, you can still use fraction and fraction. Yeah, I did say that, if that's what you meant.
This one.
Oh, with the bubble button. Yes, that's true too. Yes, very good. All right, back to the top of the page here. If I'm trying to find distance now, and I'm not going to encourage you, I don't need you guys to memorize these formulas. I just need you to know this triangle. If you want to work out the distance, cover the D, and it's going to be speed times time, because they're next to each other. So it's D for distance equals speed times by time. My speed is 80 kilometers per hour, and my time is 4 hours and 20 minutes. Now, like I did before, I can't have hours and minutes. I need it all to be in hours. So that's going to be 4 hours, and the 20 minutes, just put the 20 over 60. And that will now be in hours. Okay, so in my formula, the speed is 80 kilometers, and I'm timesing that by the time, which is 4 and 20 over 60. Okay, and type that in. When you type in the 4 and 20 over 60, you do need to use the 3 square fraction. So it's 80 times, bring up the 3 boxes, 4 and 20 over 60. Okay, so let's push my decimal button, and I'm going to do 2 decimal places. So that's 346.67. What do you think my units are? Kilometers, good. Okay, because there was kilometers in here, whatever the distance unit is in there is going to be the units for my distance in the answer. Question 5. A person runs at 7 meters per second. When it says 7 meters per second, that measurement is a speed. That's an S. And it says for 20 seconds, so that is obviously a time. Find the distance that they traveled. The formula for distance is speed times time. So just make sure that the units in here, so meters per second, and that is in seconds. You would have to adjust. If this was in minutes, for example, you would have to make it the same type of unit for time that's in there. You always have to make sure those are matching. So I can just sub them in because they do match. The speed is 7, the time is 20, 7 times 20 is 140. And what are my units for my distance? Meters. Meters, good, because that's this other one that's in here. Question 6. How long would it take Susie to travel 270 kilometres? Okay, that's a distance. At 60 kilometres per hour, that's a speed. When you're asked how long something takes, you're trying to work out a time. Okay, that's how long something takes. So we go back to our triangle, and I will now want to know what time is equal to. Cover the T up, and it's equal to distance over speed. So the formula, time equals distance divided by speed. Make sure kilometres here and kilometres here, they match, so we're good to sub in. My distance is 270 and my speed is 60. 270 divided by 60 is 4.5. What's the units? Hours, correct.